Hey everybody, Paul Fontaine, Jeff Hawkins here on the Dynamite Show with special guest who we'll get to in a second. I just want to thank you all for joining here on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel, and for those listening on the audio feed on Thursday morning. Sorry we're late. I'm blaming Tony Khan. It took him till quarter after the hour to get his show done. So unfortunately, I have things I have to do between the end of the show.
I'm blaming Bishop Khan.
Okay,
just so it's somebody different. There we go.
Well, yeah. I mean, if they got rid of his match, we would have got the show done on time. Our guest today
by going 15 minutes over, they were picking on the WWE today. That's why they went over.
They were. So that voice you just heard, if you're listening on audio, was Ed from San Antonio, the fabulous Ed Laredo, who is in Las Vegas for the F4W convention, which he basically started. We've had Ed on the show before, and Ed's going to talk about his show, which I'm going to put a graphic up here for, Podermania, which no number now. I guess you've given up on counting them. You're up to what, about 6 or 7 now?
It's 7, but
7. Okay.
Podermania sounded better than the Spanish word for 7.
What is it? Un, dos, tres, cuatro.
That's why.
Why. I can't even. I got C's. I don't know what the 7 is. And then Ocho. You can be Poder Ocho next year. But you got a stack card. I was listening to the plug on Brian and Vinny's show a little while ago, and they ran down the card, and I mean, you can see the poster here. You got some names that everybody knows. Leva Bates, obviously, Podermania staple. Allie Catch. Maya World, who's been on.
Actually, Allie Catch is hurt, dude. Allie Catch is hurt. She's in Vegas, and she's going to be making an appearance at Iffy's Big Gay Brunch and another signing. But she's here, but she's injured. She got injured a couple of days after I announced her.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because that was on a GCW show, right?
Yeah, she fucked her leg up real bad.
Yeah, that their big one from Hammerstein. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, so she's not on, but you got Maya World, who's been on AEW television.
Actually,
not her either.
I had one pull out, and it was Maya World, and she decided to go work for the competition.
Oh, is she on that ID tournament? Probably.
No, she got the call from Stardom.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, that competition.
Yeah, so a week before my show, she left to go to my direct competition.
Oh, well.
Anybody else you want to list, Paul? Just in case.
No, but like you even have the signing table at the whatever it is, the convention thing.
Hold on, let me cut you off, Paul. So Nina Samuels and Nicole Matthews are still in. We're still going.
Yes, everybody else is still on the show. Everybody else is going to be.
Nina Samuels is awesome. Against was it KXZ or something? What's her name?
Where did you get this list from?
No, it was John LaRocca and Garrett were talking about it. Who is Nina Samuels wrestling?
Nina Samuels is wrestling Little Izzy Moreno.
Little Izzy. Oh, right. Okay. Little Izzy Moreno. Nice. But no, there was somebody. One of the names that was mentioned was somebody that was just recently on Ring of Honor. And it's got the name is like a weird, it's just initials. I'm sure that was your show. Maybe.
You're talking about Nikki XS.
Yes, yeah, Nikki XS. That's the one. She's she's still on the show, right?
Yes. Her and Shazza McKenzie will be competing in a last showgirl standing match. And I have bought over $100 worth of gimmicks for this match.
Nice. Yeah, Nikki XS is good. I like I said, I saw her on Ring of Honor, and they gave her a little more offense than they usually do for the enhancement talent. So figured that was somebody to keep an eye on. And then you got Duke Hudson appearing kind of for you.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and run down the WrestleCon schedule right now. So Thursday I got Shazza McKenzie will be signing. And then on Friday, I'm unable to really use the table, so I got lucky in getting Duke Hudson. So Duke Hudson's going to be there, and then he will be joined at various times between Lana Cross, King Slay, and Frankie B. They're all women wrestlers from Australia. Somehow I am the WrestleMania Australian connection this year.
Is that nothing to do with Lance?
Lance, I invited Lance to the lunch tomorrow, but he said that he's getting out of town as fast as possible. So.
Oh, okay, all right, that's too bad.
Yeah.
I wish I was there.
So then on Saturday, I got Leva Bates signing the whole day. I got Brittany Blake the first half, and then Miranda Alizé the second half. And then on Sunday, I got Nina Samuels and Elia James signing the whole day.
Now, Brittany Blake is that the one? Is that the one who's like? The one
that's my champion.
Like,
that's
the one. Oh, okay, the one that we're like oil and water.
No, that's
I won't get into it. Oh, that's who?
That's Christy Jane that doesn't like you.
Oh, you're right, Christy Jane. Okay. So Brittany, I like Brittany. You know what's funny? If I was going to Vegas, I would definitely be going to this show, and I don't normally go to your shows. It's not like the reason I always buy tickets, but the reason is usually it's just timing. But this is you got to put together a great show here, Ed.
I say, I personally have the strongest competition against any of other shows, because besides the Q&A with Dave and the Midget, I'm going against Stardom, and I'm also going against TW, the other women's Japanese promotion. So they're both my competition.
Is this airing anywhere? Or can you only watch it live?
This is going to be streaming on the Title Match Network. If you have a membership to them, you can watch it, or you can even watch it. You can just buy it separately.
Okay.
They're the sponsors of the show, and they also have my other shows. If you want to see other shows and you have membership to Title Match, you can watch all 6 of my shows on there.
Awesome. And you got Robert doing commentary again?
No, this year I got Val Capone, and I got Emily, and then I got Heather Lynn coming out of retirement to do the ring announcing.
Nice.
And then Mark Roberts.
Sorry, Jeff. Go ahead.
I was gonna let Ed say the where and when and how much part of it.
Oh yeah.
In Vegas.
Yeah. Okay. Let me get out the way. So it is at the FSW Arena, and that is on 6035 Harrison Drive, Suite 5, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89120. And that's the location. It's by the airport. It's a little bit out of the ways, but it's out there. But the show will be there at 10:30.
It's about a $15 to $20 cab ride from the Strip. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
10:30. That's basically what you pay wherever you take an Uber in Vegas. So it's at the show was originally going to be at 11, and I ended up with so many matches that I had to move it up to 10:30. So the show is at 10:30. And if you want, let me run down all the matches real quick.
And that's 10:30 a.m. Yeah, run down the card, and then we got a question. We got a question for you from one of our listeners before we let you go. So,
okay, so main event, Podair Championship, Brittany Blake versus Zoe Lucas, the former Rev Pro Women's Champion, and that's going to be an awesome match. Then we have another title match. We have the Ladies Night Out Championship, where Jasmine Allure will be defending against the Real Catch Ashley Vox. And
nice.
That should be a
two names everybody knows, so that's a good one.
Yes. And then we have our third title match, which would be the Pro Wrestling Eve Championship, where Nina Samuels will be defending her title against Izzy Moreno. And we'll see if Izzy can pull out the upset and go to England with their championship. And then the next match we have former NXT competitor Carolina Cruz versus Dulce Tormenta. And there should be a little lucha going on in that match. And then we have a match with 2 very young and upcoming stars from Australia. We have Little Mars versus Amira. And that should be a really good match with 2 very young competitors who are about to break out. And then we have our last showgirl standing match with Shazza McKenzie versus Nixie XS. And like I say, I spent over $100 on gimmicks, so they better tear the house down.
Shazza,
and then we have a tag.
Sorry. Go ahead.
We have a tag match, and this is the one that kind of got changed. So basically, we have Brittany Brooks, who's one of the hot talents down here in Vegas and Arizona, and she's going to be you're going to be hearing about her in the future. She's got the look, she's got the talent, she's going to She's got all the potential in the world, and she's teaming with Kaya McInerney, and they're taking on Jocelyn Navarro and Jen Servina, and so that should be a good match. And then we have for the FSW Championship, the FSW champion Gypsy Mac, and she's taking Zamaya on. And Zamaya, if you're not familiar with her, she looks like a road warrior, basically. And then we got the match I'm pretty sure Jeff is probably most excited for. We have the former Shimmer World Champion, the Shimmer Taker, Nicole Matthews, versus former NXT UK star Elia James. And that should be a really good match. Then we have Alex Gracia, and she's taking on La Leona Alexandria, the first pro wrestler from El Salvador. And that should be a good match. And then we have the final match, and you're going to love this. It's the Iron Claw tribute match with Leva Von Erich versus Ricky Freebird Tignatius in a Brad Street Rules match.
Nice. Yeah, you mentioned Brittany Brooks, and you're right. She was on ROH about 2 months ago. I had a match against Thunder Rosa, and they got some time, which normally doesn't happen on those matches where it's like an up and comer. So that was obviously somebody Tony wanted to have a look at, I think, and it was a good match from what I remember. So yeah,
dude,
that's a great card.
19 or 20. She's like she's like
just turned 20. Young. Yeah, so yeah, the sky's the limit for her. So yeah, great show, Ed. And like let me compare it to the competition.
So if you want to see women's wrestling and you can't decide between me, Stardom, and the other show,
let's get to promote the competition here.
Stardom, you have to pay to get a good seat. You have to pay $300 for 6 matches. For the other
and
one,
how much are your tickets? 20?
Well, let me get to the other competition. For the other one, to get good seats, you have to go in on the GCW package, which is like $700 to get good seats. And they only have 7 matches.
Okay.
Or you can spend $25 and come get 11 matches with 4 title matches from wrestlers from all over the world. So, it's obvious who the best deal is. So if you want to see some awesome women's wrestling, come to Poder Mania.
And I will be honest with you, Ed, and it may not be the same for everybody, but I recognize more names on your card than I do on the Stardom card. So
they do have Mina, so.
Yeah. Let me compare the competition. YouTube cuts commercial. Okay, Ed, before we let you go, Matt, who is one of our regular listeners and good dude, he's on our Discord. He's got a question for you. Have you ever seen Playboy Gary Hart live? He spent a bunch of time last year watching Gary Hart interviews. He is tremendous. You being from Texas, he probably
do I have time to tell a story?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first wrestling show that I ever went to when I was a kid, my dad took me to a wrestling show, and at the time I was watching Georgia Championship Wrestling, I was watching WWF, and I was watching Southwest Championship Wrestling. So my dad takes me to the show, and I have no fucking clue who any of the wrestlers are, but it's a good show. I'm enjoying it. It's, I was seeing people like Al Madrill, Wild Bill Irwin, Jose Lothario, a few other people. And then it was funny. Like I say, I was excited. It was my first wrestling show with my dad. And I decided, I'm like, Dad, I want to go buy a soda. Can I go buy a soda? And he's like, okay, let's go. I go, no, Dad, I can go by myself. I'm thinking, I don't know how old I was at the time, but I'm thinking I'm grown, I can go. So he gives me $20 and I get up and I start going. And then he goes, mijo, dome un cerveza. And he gave me the beer signal, which that was like my job when I was a kid, was to get my dad at Coors Light. So I go and I go to the concessions and I go, yes, let me get a Sprite and a Coors Light. And the guy just looks at me and he's like, what? I go, let me have a Sprite and a Coors Light. And he just starts laughing and he tells the guy next to him, he's like, this kid wants a Coors Light. And next thing I know, everybody behind the counter is laughing at me. All the people behind me are laughing at me. And I don't fucking know why. I don't know. I can't buy a fucking beer, dude. So I'm fucking all like, what the fuck? And I get my Sprite and I walk away crying because all these fuckers are laughing at me and I don't fucking know why. So I'm going back to my seat. And like I say, at the time, I didn't know any of these wrestlers. So I'm walking back crying, and I look and I see a sign, and the sign says, Kerry beat Kabuki. And I didn't know Kerry at the time, but I fucking knew who Kabuki was. And I knew Gary Hart was his manager. So I fucking got all excited, stopped crying, drew my Sprite in the fucking air, and I went running, Dad, the Kabuki's coming. And then he was with Gary Hart. And to me, Gary Hart was the most evil manager who ever lived. I mean, the dude was like pure evil. I mean, there was just something about him that was different than Jim Cornette and Bobby. There was no like real comedy. Like he was saying some funny shit, but and great promos, but he was different, than a lot of the managers at the time. And yeah, I saw plenty of fucking Gary Hart between World Class and Georgia, and he's the guy who booked the fucking greatest angle of all fucking time.
Yeah, Kerry in the cage door. Yeah, wrestling needs a Gary Hart. Wrestling definitely needs a Gary Hart. Okay, so Ed is in Vegas. So if you don't already have your tickets, you're probably not going. But if you're listening, I know Jason's in Vegas, and others hopefully will be heading there. So check out Ed's show, order it online if you can't, and good luck, Ed, on the show. Have fun in Vegas. Yep. Say hi to everyone for me. It's too bad I'm going to miss it. My first convention I'm going to miss in 15 years. So
Why did you come a month early? You could have brought your sister to this trip.
Yeah, because my sister couldn't get my sister. With your... Yeah, she couldn't get this week off. That's the problem. So, and plus I would have had to bring my daughter with me, and then I couldn't have done a lot. But I know you all don't care about that. But
no, you just wanted your sister there.
You just wanted my sister there. Yeah. All right. So thanks, Ed.
She's very entertaining.
She is, and we had a great time.
Of the family.
I'll send you a story by DM about our weekend, Ed. So Ed, good luck. Have a great show. And we're going to let you go, and we're going to talk about Dynamite. So take care. Have a good one. Man. All right. Jeff.
Gary Hart almost started a race riot at a show I went to in Norfolk.
Nice.
He's in one of those shark cages, and there's this lady screaming at blah 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 blah. Muda and Sting are fighting, and Gary Hart looks down and goes, "Look at all the N-word people." And I just looked at my friends and go, "We're gonna die if we don't get out of here right now." Oh God!
All
Gary
right.
Hart. Yeah.
So we had a show today. Okay. So I saw Fernando who had a comment here. I want to put this up here. He said, I'm going to agree with one of his comments. I'm going to disagree with another one.
Okay.
This was one of the greatest Dynamite shows of all time. I would say top 5. I really, really like the show a lot. Nothing's ever going to beat that Brody Lee tribute show, in my opinion. And there's been a few other good ones, but I really like this one. And then this one, Will Ospreay versus Takeshita. Sick was the greatest Dynamite match of all time. No way. I liked it a lot. Don't get me wrong, but I could come up with 4 or 5 matches that were better. But it was awesome. I'm not throwing shade on it. It was an awesome match.
It's weird because we watch wrestling slightly differently.
Right.
I really liked the show quite a bit. Loved it, as a matter of fact. And one of the things that made me really, really like it was just the dumb celebration at the end of the show.
Yes. Yeah.
I know this is gonna sound like sacrilege to the purists and the star rating people, but it was like just one of those wrestling things that Tony Khan hates to do, it seems, but makes professional wrestling is the locker room celebration upon a title change after vanquishing an evil foe.
Yeah.
Who's been around for a while.
And especially, like the reign. I mean, they always talk about the Triple H reign of terror, but the Death Riders reign of terror that we've had for the last 8 months. And then here finally, and it wasn't just that they lost, it was their leader got choked out.
And not just that, it needed that ending, not only because, but it was also yet again another, hey, the hottest match is the match before the main event that involves Claudio Castagnoli.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Well,
nothing wrong with that match. Don't get me wrong. It's
no.
just
I
one of
mean,
those things
I would
where
say
it's
the
like you have
main event.
you have a 25-minute Will Ospreay Takeshita banger, and it's like, oh, and we're gonna follow that, and you're just like, what?
I will say the opener and the main event both exceeded my expectations. The Ospreay
like the
Takeshita
opener
match
a
was
lot.
pretty much exactly what I thought it would be. You know, it
Mhm.
was like a best case scenario for that match. You know, like it could have been worse. It wasn't likely to be worse. It wasn't going to be much better. You're not going to get much better on a TV match. I still say like that FTR. Well, I guess that was on Collision. The FTR 60-minute match with the Gun Club or
Gold?
whatever it was.
Yeah, Bullet Club Gold. Yeah,
Bullet Club Gold, and then there was I like the MJF Ospreay 59-58 match, and the Danielson Garcia match, and then there was that Omega Danielson draw. I would put those matches ahead of this one, but again, like, oh, and you know what, and the Bucks against Ospreay and Takeshita. Or
please
Fletcher.
hold your applause until Paul has listed all of his favorite matches.
That was off the top of my head. Like I'm not pulling up a spreadsheet or anything, so there may be more. But again, like I'm not throwing shade. It was a freaking awesome match. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
This is great. Brad, I'm glad to have Brad in the show here. Main event was an overbooked mess and it was perfect. Having all clean matches prior allowed the interference in the main to mean something. Absolutely. And
yes, and all go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say interference when it means something and it's justified is there's nothing wrong with it. And it was perfectly fit here. Every bit of it made sense, and every bit of it popped the crowd more than the one before it.
Well, I was going to say this show lacked angles, and one of the reasons for the interference was to further an angle, so I was fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. I mean, we did have the you had the furtherance of the
MJ stuff. That's it.
You had the Callus Josh Alexander tease. So that was, you could call that an angle. And then
I'm not sure that's a tease. I think that's just a one-off, but that's me.
Well, that's true. That's a tease. We had the Christian Nick Wayne thing backstage.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I forgot about that. That was pretty good.
The one thing they didn't do, and I'll get this way out of now so I don't have to dwell on it. Like the announcers, as far as I know, and I know Brad will correct me if I'm wrong, and I probably am wrong. I don't think they mentioned the fact that Collision is airing tomorrow night until the overrun of the main event.
No, they did.
They did? Okay.
Yeah.
So
First hour.
First hour. Okay. I don't remember it. It might have been during entrances. If they did. I was texting back and forth with someone when I mentioned there was a Collision tomorrow, and he was watching the show, but he was about an hour behind. Adine, like our buddy Adine, who travels shows all over the place.
They needed to hammer it more. No, but they needed to hammer it more. It needed to be like repetition.
He had no idea. When he saw the Christian thing, he just assumed they were taping the match tomorrow and it was airing on Saturday. He had no idea it was actually airing live on Saturday tomorrow.
Right.
So, but whatever, it's fine. They hammered it home on Saturday. Like they must have mentioned that every segment on Saturday. They put up graphics all night, and really, it's that audience that you need to make sure knows about it because they're the ones that would be tuning in the next Saturday. So now they know to tune in Thursday. So. But I just wanted to get that out of the way so I don't have to dwell on it because again, this was a great show. It was Spring Breakthru from Boston. They were in a smaller building. What did they called it? The MGM Ballroom at Fenway.
Yes.
It's seated. They said it seats 5,000 for concerts. It was set up for like 3,600 or something, and it was pretty much a sellout. They had 3,192 available tickets and they sold 3,181. And that was as of, right before the show. So basically it was a sell. They had 11 tickets left. Tomorrow night, not selling as well. But hopefully the crowd's good tomorrow night. Maybe they can paper it or something and get that building full again because the crowd was great. It was one of the better crowds they've had. I really like these small buildings with the small crowds. Small buildings that are full, that make it seem like a big deal. Everyone seemed
Christmas Porzingis there. That made it kind of
a big deal. And Tuukka Rask, the goalie for the longtime goalie for the Boston Bruins, and only time they're ever going to see the Stanley Cup because they didn't make the playoffs this year.
Easy Canada.
The last time Boston and Detroit both didn't make the playoffs was 1967, which is famously the last time the Toronto Maple Leafs won the Stanley Cup. So
Look, it's always a good year when the Detroit Red Wings don't make the playoffs.
Brad points out, and I had no idea of this. The last time they were there was when Hobbs beat Mox for the title, or faced Mox for the title, sorry. And Megan Bayne debuted in the women's gauntlet match. Great venue. I agree, great venue. Yeah, and that was a good show too, from what I remember. So yeah, they this was a loaded up show. I mean, it looked great on paper. It might have been even better in actuality than it was on paper. We opened up with the Owen Hart tournament match between Mercedes and Athena. And as I had said earlier, this match kind of over-delivered. It was a great match. I think most people were expecting Mercedes to win. I wasn't sure because I'm just feeling like Mercedes and Tony for the title at All In. I mean, it's a big match and probably the biggest match they can do, but I don't know. I was expecting it to maybe go later in the year and headline a show, and I don't think it'll headline All In if that's where they go. Now, that's assuming she wins, and there's a possibility she doesn't win the her final match, but I can't see her losing to Jamie Hayter or Chris Statlander. So
no,
but they had a just a great match. They were in and out of the ring. They hit like everything under the sun, and the crowd was hot for everything. They were behind both people at times, and they were booing both people at times. Like they're just reacting to the match. Like I thought overall in terms of crowd heat, they were probably hottest for the whole match for this than they were for anything else. I think for the peak of Ospreay Takeshita, they got hotter, but this was like they were just right into everything both of these two did.
Well, they started hot, and then they did the Celtics chant when Porzingis, I think, walked in late.
Okay, I didn't even.
And then once they got past the "Let's Go Celtics" chant, they focused back on the match.
Okay, see, and I missed that part, so I guess I was just hearing the crowd heat. I wouldn't have noticed. I wouldn't have noticed him. Like I know the name, but I wouldn't have recognized him. But my thing I remember from this match the most was probably like there was a spot where Mercedes did her the Three Amigos, and then Athena followed right up with like 3 straight power bombs.
Mm-hmm.
And they both teased their finishers. They went outside the ring. They had a great spot where they were both on the barricade, and the crowd was going nuts while they were doing that. And then I think it was Mercedes jumped off, and then Athena followed her, and then she hit her with what do they call it? Like a power drop kick, and knocked her into the LED boards, knocked out the board. That was awesome.
I think is what you were looking
for. Yeah, Jet Woo. That's it. Yeah.
John Woo.
Yeah. And then they get back in the ring. Athena went for the O-face. Moné was ready for it. She countered into a cradle and got the pin. And not the last time we'd see a cradle for a pin tonight, but that's fine. I just thought it was an outstanding match. I had a debate earlier today with in a chat group that I'm in, and the person was saying that Will Ospreay versus Takeshita will be better than anything this whole weekend, this whole Mania weekend. And I was like, I wouldn't put my money on that. I think something at Mania, and obviously this is before Ospreay Takeshita happened. And then when this match was over, I was like, I'm not even sure Ospreay Takeshita is going to be the best match on the show, because this match was awesome. Like this is literally one of the best matches in Dynamite history. Probably the best women's match that didn't involve blood. It was great. Like just like a pay-per-view main event quality match to open up Dynamite here, in my opinion.
I continue to say that AEW should have probably built the company around Mercedes when they signed her. She is just absolutely so fantastic. I am terribly, terribly biased when it comes to her, because I'm sitting there while I'm watching the match thinking how my late stage fandom since turning on NXT and starting Shake Them Ropes, how much of my fandom has been carried by Mercedes Moné / Sasha Banks and people in her orbit. I really liked the spot where she had what used to be called the bank statement on, and they both rolled to the floor from the apron. Yeah, that's a tough bump to take still. She won using Manami Toyota's Victory Star Drop, apparently.
Okay.
Which,
Whatever.
hey, well, no, but still, I mean,
no, I know. It means something to a lot of people.
it's to her, it means
over
something.
my head. Yeah,
in Boston,
and to her.
doing
yes,
that.
absolutely.
She's just so great. I thought actually Athena had a little bit of trouble about halfway through lifting up Mercedes, which I found odd because Mercedes is tiny. So it was just one of those things where I was just like, okay, cool. But, my complaints are minor. I also thought there was a possibility that they were just going to that they're going to possibly do Mercedes and Athena at All In Texas because they had been plugging Athena as part of the big show against Mercedes with the PR stuff and saving the Tony match. But the Tony Mercedes match is the match to do. And it would be stupid. And I'm going to say that. It would be stupid if they run an angle where Athena blows it for Mercedes to get to that match and All In so that Chris Statlander and Tony Storm gets run back.
I agree.
Or Jamie Hayter.
I wouldn't. I can't completely discount the possibility that that's going to happen, but
I think it's going to happen. That's no,
I don't think so. I think they're going to go with the layup. I think Tony,
it's the money match. It would be the biggest women's match in this company's history, and both acts are red hot.
Yeah, and you could have a finish that leads to a rematch, and then the rematch can headline a pay-per-view down, later on in the year. Like you can do that. Like, there's no way it's headlining over Ospreay, Mox, or Omega Okada. But, I mean, it's going to be a strong match on the show. And it may end up being the best match on the show. Like those two, are going to be motivated. And they won't have the pressure because no one's going to be expecting it to be the best match on the show. So they can go out there without that pressure of having the best match and steal the show. So, yeah, I think Tony
on the end because I'm watching it. Is this considered a pull of the tights by Mercedes?
I mean, I didn't think so, but I'd have to.
They didn't bring it up in commentary, so that's why I was asking. And
I could see Athena bringing that up.
That's what I was kind of.
And Athena is a heel, so it would make sense. And then maybe that builds to a rematch. Maybe somehow we get to a rematch that way.
Also interesting that was a heel versus heel match, and there was still kind of hot.
Well, yeah, and I mean, because the fact is, I mean, you're in Boston, so they're going to cheer for Mercedes, and Athena is, like she is a heel, but she's kind of half been a babyface in AEW. So, in ROH, she's definitely a heel, but. Then after the match, they played Tony Storm's music. She came out. She stood in the crowd and did a stare down with Mercedes, and the crowd chanted, "Holy shit!" And I was like, it's a little much.
Yeah, they wouldn't tease it if they're not going to deliver on it, right?
No, you're right. Yeah, that's from the playbook of the man who we won't mention on this show.
And they're doing a tag match tomorrow with Mercedes and
Harley against Julia and Chris
Statlander. With Tony on commentary. So there's
no
way.
Are they tipping their hand that Chris Statlander is going to beat Jamie by booking that match?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. So it's kind of weird because I think I saw people predicting Jamie to win this tournament. So, but I wasn't expecting that at all. And I think Chris Statlander makes perfect sense to face Mercedes in the final. And she's not going to win, but they're going to have a great match. We got Renee interviewing Hangman, and it's kind of funny because I can't remember exactly what she said, but she made like a comment like, "It's me again," like almost like, I don't know why I keep getting asked to interview you. But she asked him about his wild card match, and before he can answer, Young Bucks show up with Okada, and they just go over what they said last week, like, "Hey, we took care of Swerve for you, and we're here, and we forgive you for walking out on us last year at Blood and Guts, and we're here together, and we're going to help you. You're going to win the world title, and you're going to bring it back to the Elite." And Hangman didn't say no to that, and then they left, and Okada stuck around, and he's like, "Why are you always so angry? You got to smile." And he puts a smile on his face, and Hangman looks at him, and he just walks away. And then Okada waits for a minute and he says, bitch. And Hangman is just right back and he's in his face. He's, hey, smile. And the Hangman looks at him and then he just walks away. And then this time Okada doesn't say bitch. So it was kind of
I
weird.
enjoyed that. I especially enjoyed Okada in this thing. You need to smile more.
Yeah. It's like he doesn't give a flying bleep. We ran out of F bombs on the show because of Ed, so I have to say F now. I can't swear. And this is where we showed Tuukka Rask on stage with the Stanley Cup. Then we got Hangman against the wild card, and the wild card, if you missed the show, was Josh Alexander. Which it's funny because when this was first announced, I thought, and I think I even said it on the show, it's going to be Josh Alexander or Jeff Jarrett. Mm-hmm. And then I convinced myself it was going to be Jungle Boy when the Bucks returned at Dynasty, because it just made all the sense in the world that we haven't seen him in a long time. He'll be back, whatever. No, it was Josh Alexander. That's fine. It was.
I thought it was going to be. Yeah, I think we both said Josh or Jeff Jarrett. That was good. And then we kind of brought Swerve into the equation.
Yeah, that was another possibility. Yeah. Oh, and then whatever, like Tony Nese or something like that was or Brandon Cutler, we said last year, if it's the Bucks setting up like the Mick Foley run for him. So Matt asked, as the resident Impact Wrestling historian, is Josh Alexander good promo? How good is this guy? I've seen very little of him. Great wrestler.
Great wrestler.
Really good. He's a good promo when
straight ahead promo.
Yeah, like he's like Bret Hart, kind of like that sort of promo. Like when it's something he can sink his teeth into, he can get there. But like for a mid-card feud where he's going to get like 30 seconds of promo time once a month, he's not going to be great. But
yeah, he was a tag team partner of Ethan Page, both on the Indies and in TNA. And really, he was kind of the bad cop / muscle of the team versus Ethan Page being kind of the mouth cockiness thing. But I mean, he's not a bad promo. He's just not a great promo. Let's put it that way.
He's not a guy that's going to fire up the crowd.
Right.
Yeah, like he's probably better in those promos that are like taped with the action going over them and him talking like that's where he does his best. Now, a live promo, not so much.
Yeah.
So, but he's going to end up being third in a heel stable if we're to be believed.
I don't think he's joining the stable. I don't.
No,
because he didn't walk off with them. It was just a one-off. Hey, I'll pay you like $10,000.
Okay,
hit him right now or something like that.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't think he's gonna be babyface.
No, and that's another point of contention for me. But let's talk about this.
So they had a match. It was a good match, very good match. Not much to say. Like, the thing is with this, what's weird is because the crowd didn't really know Alexander, but they reacted to him because they kind of I think they knew who he was, but they didn't react to his moves because they probably didn't know his moves. And they're just kind of waiting for all of Hangman's moves. And so when Hangman would be going for his stuff or everything, they'd be reacting. But then, I think they reacted to the ankle lock because, like Kurt Angle, or because he wears the head dress and he kind of when he puts on the ankle lock, he kind of does it like Kurt Angle did. So I think they kind of look at it like that. So they reacted to that. But eventually Hangman, he kept going for the buck shot, but Alexander at one point he rolled out, never actually got to hit it. And then they went back to the ring. Alexander went for a power bomb. Page escaped, and then he just rolled up Josh and cradled him for the pin. So again, another cradle finish. But it was a good match, really good match. Like most weeks, this would be the best match on the show. Here it was maybe the fourth best match because this was a loaded up show.
I am not a fan of debuting someone just to have them lose. I guess they kind of made up for it with the angle in there, but I don't like the wild cards for this reason. It's one of those things where it's Tony brain, where he's like, I know who this is. He's a great wrestler or whatever. And it's like, so that means everybody all the sickos will know who this is too. He kind of did the same thing with Speedball. And I'm just like, okay.
Well, fine, at least Speedball won.
Yeah, no, and that's the second point is yes.
Yeah.
Don't if you think you have something in a guy, don't debut him to lose, even if it's against somebody better. Just don't. That's not good. give us. I mean, I don't like the wild card thing, anyways. In tournaments, you should know who's in your tournament, but that's
Well,
me.
and you know what? Like Hangman, this is the second straight year he's had to face a wild card. Like
Yes.
Brad points out Kathy, which is his daughter, popped big for Josh. She usually doesn't know too many debuts, but we met him a couple of years ago and she remembered him. She also still doesn't like Paige for his feud with Omega, who she loves. So there you go. Yeah, that's nice to hear. Yeah, Josh is, I mean, he's a super nice guy in person. So yeah, after the match, Kyle Fletcher came out because he's going to face Hangman next to get to the finals to face the winner of Ospreay and Takeshita.
Boy, I'll tell you something, Paul. I used to think Josh Alexander was big. Then I saw him stand next to Kyle Fletcher, and I just went, oh.
When Kyle Fletcher was walking down the aisle with Don Callis, they shot him from behind. My God, this dude has put on muscle mass. I think he's put on like 25 pounds in the last 6 months, if not more.
And it has to be. I mean, and it's a far cry from when was WrestleMania in New Orleans, 2018, where I was watching him in the Rev Pro show with Aussie Open, and like Mark Davis has gotten in good shape for his body type, but he was overweight and out of shape, and Kyle Fletcher was a beanpole.
Well, yeah, I mean, what was he, 19 then though? Like, you know, I think
so, but I mean, like no muscle, just a stick.
He's walking and his arms, like he's got those arms that he can't even like pull them into his body because his biceps are so huge, and his chest is getting bigger now. Like and his legs, like he's turning into Randy Orton. Like it's and I mean, and no complaint. Like this dude is a star, and he's got the proto star entrance, which they're really like pushing. It's on his entrance now, so he comes out to square off with Hangman, and then Don Callis gets in Josh Alexander's ear, says something to him. And then he attacks Hangman, power bombs him, leaves, doesn't leave with Don Callis, as you mentioned, but at the very least, he took a payoff. But
okay, so what do you do with Josh Alexander now?
Well, I mean, so what's your option? He's going to be a heel with no allies, or he's going to be the third guy in a stable?
Yeah, he's going to be in catering, is where he's going to be for a few months.
Well, no, I mean, he'll wrestle. Like he's going to be at that. I'm trying to think of like the level. Like he's at around the Claudio level, except he's not aligned with Mox, which is the problem. So
make him a third wheel with FTR.
Yeah, you could do that.
That'd be fine. Okay.
Yeah, he'd fit with them actually. I hope that he's not going to end up in the Premier Athletes. But
that's what we need, is an angle with the Premier Athletes having dissension, Paul.
Well, no, he'd just be added to the group. He could be there because I haven't seen Josh Woods in a while. So
no, I haven't seen.
Just replace him with another Josh. Just pretend that he's been in the group the whole time. What's funny is when
he's the next Iron Savage to replace the guy who got fired.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah. So that was, I mean, it was fun. But we'll see what's going on. You know what? It's early. Like it's one match, and it was a good match. So I'm not gonna like cast any dispersions on Josh Alexander. I saw somebody say, and actually I won't say who it was, but somebody say that like he's gonna be wasted or whatever, and he should have gone here, should have gone there. You know what? I think he made the best choice because he probably got the most money here that he was going to get anywhere. New Japan, if money was equal, New Japan probably is like the best fit for him, but they're not spending money on foreigners. In fact, my shirt here, they're not spending money on their biggest stars. So, I
was hoping for a Monster Mafia / North reunion, but that's me.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is he ever going to leave NXT if he goes to WWE? I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, at least Ethan can talk, and So Josh Alexander made the best decision. I agree because I think that he probably is set for life now. With whatever Tony's paying him.
He's probably getting overpaid in AEW. Let's be honest. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all. And you know what? And they can use a good wrestler that they can beat. As sad as that is. then we had this segment we talked about. Nick Wayne, he's backstage and he's about to do a promo, just basically almost like he's going to take over the patriarchy.
Yeah.
And then behind him, which he doesn't know, is Christian Cage. So he returns. First time we've seen him since I think his failed cash-in at whatever pay-per-view that was. Dynasty, I think. Not the last one. It was the one before that. Revolution. Yeah. And then he says, tells Nick, yeah, you stepped up the last few weeks, and that was by design. I left so that you could do that, but I'm back now, and I secured you a spot in the Best of the Super Juniors. So you're going to be going to Japan, but until you go there, I got to get you ready. So you're going to be wrestling a lot, and you're wrestling tomorrow night on Collision. I got you a match for the ROH television title against one of the best luchadors, one of the best Super Juniors in the world, Commander. So I say I shouldn't have laughed when I said that, because I mean he does have a title and everything, but yeah. So it's Nick Wayne and Commander tomorrow, and then he like, so he like kind of gives him a nice like kind of like a pat, and then then it kind of, the second pat was more like a slap in the face, and then he leaves and he goes, "Come on, Kip." And so Kip follows him, and then Shayna looks at her son, looks over at Christian, and leaves her son there by himself.
Well, Christian calls for her too. Shayna.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay. I didn't hear that. Okay. Yeah, Shayna, and then he looks at his daughter, looks at her son, looks at him, leaves with him. So
Kip Sabian is the Charlie Whitehurst of AEW.
I need you to explain that reference.
Clipboard Jesus. He's a backup. He was a perennial backup quarterback with everybody. You just held, but it's like, oh, he's a dream. Oh, if he gets his chance, he's gonna be. It's like, no, he's just there to hold the clipboard for everybody.
Yeah, but hey, it's a good job. And I know Brad's comment was about Josh Alexander, but it works here too. Get paid.
Yes, get paid.
Yeah,
Jeff Hawkins mantra. When did we have the recap of the FTR angle? Did we miss that?
Right here.
Okay.
So we did get a recap of FTR on Collision, which was freaking amazing.
I wish they would have played the Matt Menard promo.
Yeah, well,
because that was awesome too. I mean, the whole thing was awesome. Don't get me wrong, but man, God.
For those who didn't see Collision, and actually it was a great audience this week. They did a good number. FTR. They do the promo segment with Tony Schiavone, and so Dax does it, and they're getting just amazing heat, and Dax is like, they've got the promo that they want to cut, but the crowd is just giving them heat like you wouldn't believe, and rather than try to power through the promo, Dax is reacting to them, which was great. And at one point they chant, "You sold out," and he says, "What do you mean I sold out? You think I got paid for this?" Like, it's like, oh man, it was just beautiful. Then then he says, not everyone was happy with us. In fact, one person in particular had some pointed comments. So I want to call Tony Schiavone into the ring. So Tony Schiavone starts to get up. Nigel says, "Don't go in there." And Tony, "No, it's okay. I'm friends with these guys. It's fine." Nigel's like, "Don't go in there. Just don't do it. I'm telling you, don't go in there." No, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. So Tony gets in there, and Dax asks him, "So you're here? Say it to my face. What you did was reprehensible." And he just like cuts him down. Says almost the exact same thing he said on Wednesday. And then Dax said, "But you had something to say about one of my family members." He's like, "Yeah, your daughter should be ashamed of you. She probably went to school and everyone's asking her, why is your daddy so mean?" And then Dax is like,
I love Tony Schiavone and his absolute don't give a shit about anybody.
So then they just out of nowhere just pick him up. They're about to give him a pile driver. So Nigel, he's like, throws down his headset, gets up, stands up. They let Schiavone go, and he squares off with them, and they're not going to attack him. And then Daniel Garcia shows up, and then they thought he was security, so they like kind of gave him the back elbow, and then they look around and, "Oh, well, man, sorry, Danny, we didn't mean to." And then whatever. So they do that. Then later on, they set up a match. They do the backstage thing that you said. And actually, you mentioned Matt Menard, and even Angelo Parker was pretty good in that segment too.
But
Matt
both
Menard
very good.
just cuts this like awesome promo, you know.
And
just,
he's bleeding, and
Yeah.
I mean, like a stuck pig. It was so fantastic.
Oh,
It was
that's
so
okay. You're talking about
old
the
school.
second promo. I'm talking about the first one
Oh,
before
the first
match.
promo was good,
Yeah.
but the second one was
Yeah.
fantastic.
So they did a promo, challenge them to a match. They do the match. Now, there were 2 other matches on this show. We're doing a sidetrack here because I don't have a lot to say about a lot of these matches on Dynamite. They were great, but
Neither do I.
what can you
Let's
say
just
about
get through
them?
it.
Yeah, so we had 2 matches on Collision that were like bangers, but they were also, in my opinion, shouldn't have been bangers necessarily. You had Blake Christian and Anthony Bowens, and you had AR Fox and Kevin Knight. So Kevin Knight and Anthony Bowens are like your hot new baby faces that you're trying to push. So you give them a match against guys that never win that they can beat. And they went out there and they had these 50-50 awesome banger matches, which is fine. But I just thought, you know what? I think especially Anthony Bowens, he sold like 80% of that match. And I thought he should have won in like 5 minutes. So regardless. Then they do FTR and 2.0. This was not a 50-50 banger. This was a freaking destruction. FTR just killed these 2 guys. And I think what was the Power and Glory they gave him? And then I think the Spike Pile Driver like 3 times.
Spike Pile Driver. Yeah.
Yeah. And they just
the only thing that was missing out of their repertoire that they stole from other tag teams was the Vegematic from the Midnight Express.
Yeah. So they killed Matt Menard, and then they're about to give him another one, and then Daniel Garcia comes down to make the save. They stopped, they hugged him, and then they murdered him too.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that. It was great. It was great. And they got heat like you wouldn't believe it. Matt, take some time, go watch it. Just watch the FTR stuff. Take you like half an hour.
Yeah, look, Sam Shipman doesn't like FTR, but everybody else should. This was great.
The whole show was great though. Like it was a great show. It was better than Dynamite last week. Not nearly as good as Dynamite this week, but it was really good. So yeah, that was awesome. And I missed this on the show. I guess because it was a video package. So I was skipping through it. Apparently, Tony Schiavone informed us FTR has been suspended and fined heavily for 1 week.
They were fined 1 week's pay, which he reminds us, which is a lot of money.
Yeah, that's probably what, $4,000. It's less than he got fined for shoving a ref.
And he had a check for that. So.
Yeah. But suspended indefinitely and fined. That's what it is. Okay. Then we got, the weakest match in the show, but it was more of a like to set up an angle. And it was fine. Like there was nothing wrong with the match, but it was the Hurt Syndicate and the Gates of Agony. What I'll say about this match,
I enjoyed this more than you, obviously. But
no, don't get me wrong. This match was fine. I think the Hurt Syndicate sold more in this match than they have in every tag team match they've had combined. Yeah.
They were on a mission to put these guys over as legitimate threats to their tag team run when nobody was expecting them to get any offense. And that's what made this match exciting to me.
Right. But I mean, they still beat them in like 6 minutes. But they still sold a ton in that.
This is the most that the Gates of Agony have gotten out of a team that's not signed.
Yeah, other than like if they're, if they were in there with the Outrunners or the Acclaimed or if they were in there against Top Flight, they're taking 80% of the match and then they're losing by a roll up or something. That's the thing. Like they're a team that I think MVP took a look at these guys and they're like, no, we're going to give these guys something because they can do something with these guys. So yeah, it was good for them. The only thing, there was a bit of a stumble. I think it was Toa Leone when he was coming out of the corner. He did the Jey Uso and tripped over his own feet when he was going for a move, but they covered that up fairly quickly. And but yeah, they ended up Lashley ended up winning with a spear. I think there's one spot in this match where like they were outside the ring and one of the guys was walking and Lashley from behind the camera ran and delivered a spear. That was pretty cool. Like it's not a Braun Breaker spear, but it's better than a Roman Reigns spear. So I'll put him halfway in between those two.
It's better than an Adam Copeland spear.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If we're best spear in AEW, we'll call it. So yeah, so they won, and then out comes MJF, and he's kind of he's a babyface now. Kind of. He's doing the same thing he was right before Brochachos, where like he's still pretending he's a heel, but he's playing up to the crowd, and the crowd's chanting for him, but it's working better here, in my opinion, than it did with the Adam Cole thing, because I don't know, for something about it feels more believable. But it's
a lot more charming.
Yeah,
that's what it is. He's being charming, and it's actually and there's not that air of disingenuousness until he turns to Lashley.
Yeah,
that's what's making these things.
Yeah. So he comes out and he's trying to get back in the Hurt Business. So he's like, guys, like I guess MVP said, find out what these guys want. So MJF decides that they need to get laid. So he comes out and he says, there's a lot of talent in the back that really liked your matches. And when I say talent, you got to see what I got to mean.
I stopped for a moment and I went, there is no way in hell he's bringing out women for them in 2025. He's bringing out the hoe train.
He brought out the hoe train.
And I'm
8 women out of a Robert Palmer
video. I'm conflicted, Paul. I'm conflicted as to whether or not I can like this.
Because I really like that redhead.
Oh, God. Paul Ace Fontaine on X.
Oh my God.
Because
I know there were 7 other women there, but
Mel and Sam are going to have some thoughts, and I am going to defer to them. I think.
Okay.
Also, there's a little bit of a racial thing in there that I'm a little bit uncomfortable with.
A couple of the women
were what? You cut off there.
What? There we go. Okay, I'm good.
Yes.
A couple of the women were African American, I think.
Were they?
I think so. Most of them were white.
Yes.
So, anyways, these women are on the stage. Josh Alexander or Shelton Benjamin's eyes.
Shelton made this thing.
But it wasn't like in WWE when they act like they've never seen a woman. It was different. Like it was, it's hard to describe. You have to see it. Like it was how he would react, I think. Like, oh, and Bobby was just like you're trying too hard, buddy. Like that was kind of the look in his face. And MVP
Shelton bought in.
Yeah.
Bobby was like, "No, I'm a married man. Can't do this."
I okay. So anyways,
but later changed his mind, I guess.
Yes, yeah. And MVP was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have a good night tonight." So they come to the ring. They're all over the guys, and then so Max asks them to take a vote, and MVP's like, "Well, my vote." Puts his fingers up, his thumb up. Shelton is like, he's smiling. MJF's like, I know I'm growing on you. And Shelton's like, eh. So he puts his thumb in the middle and he starts to inch up a little bit. And then he puts it down. And then Max is like, what do you mean? And he's like, I need a little more time. And then he's like, what do you mean time? And he's like, points at his watch. That was so bizarre. Like
it was bizarre and stupid, but absolutely kayfabe wrestling. I want you to watch. Sure.
No, and it worked. It absolutely worked. Brad's giving me some homework here. The redhead is indie wrestler Notorious Mimi. She was signed to NXT for a bit. I'm going to have to check out some of her matches. And
he's very talented and has lots of charisma. Thanks, Dave.
I believe you. So yeah, he says he wants Max's watch. So Max says, oh no, so this was before the vote. So he says, if you vote for me, I'll give you my watch. And
Shelton is so happy until he sees Bobby's disapproving face.
Yeah. So he votes against him. And Max says, it's okay. You can still have my watch. and you can still have these women. You can have these women. Those were his words. So these women are commodities to be bought and sold.
Yes.
Yeah. Is prostitution legal in Boston? I'm not sure.
No.
Okay.
And what's
so,
wrong with you?
so they leave with the women, and Max is well, and then he has well, he talked to Bobby too, and he's like basically at the end of this segment, he said to Bobby, he's like essentially said, you know, like I always get what I want eventually, and there's a reason why, because I'm better than you, and you know it. Like, what a freaking idiot! Like that was his close. But I say that in the most loving manner possible. Like I love this segment. I absolutely loved it. Matt,
I have noted my uncomfortableness with certain aspects of the segment, but I too also loved it. And let's put it this way: if Tony is a fan of Mid-South, there's an angle there where, and I'm gonna say this, and it was politically incorrect at the time too, where Buddy Landel sold Butch Reed to Skandar Akbar for a watch.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, wasn't wasn't it Bobby Heenan? Didn't they
Hercules?
sold
Hercules to Slick.
or to Slick? Yeah.
And
then Hercules didn't want to be sold.
Correct.
Yeah. No, it was outstanding, and it was fun. And you know what? It was a nice way to like just a break from like the bangers. And we're gonna have a break here. We're gonna do a segment, and then we're gonna get back to the bangers.
I can't believe you asked. Is prostitution legal in Boston?
Well, I don't know. I know it is legal in Nevada. I should I'll peel back the curtain a little bit. I didn't take notes today. It was my son's birthday, and we had a bunch of people over, and so I started watching the show a little bit later than I usually do, and so I didn't take notes to get through it. So I'm reading a recap, and I just had to read this one line, and it's courtesy of I'll put this guy over, Ryan Howard on the Wrestling Observer site, and his words here are, where the hell is it? Lashley was left unimpressed as Benjamin admired the women and his new watch. That's a perfect cap. No
lies told.
Yeah, well put, Ryan Howard. Then we get an interview with Alicia Toot with the Hurt Syndicate, and basically, I don't even know why it was an interview, because like she just left, and it was basically just the three of them talking, and MJF, MVP's trying to convince him, and he's like, I know the guy's annoying, but he can help us, and he can help us get what we want. And Bobby seems to be warming to it. And then he's like, and then MVP says, you know what? Like, if he gets out of line, we'll deal with it. And so you kind of get the feeling that, depending on how this night with these women go, he may come around.
Let's see how good the sex is first, and then we'll vote on it.
Yeah. No. That's essentially, because by the end of this,
we need a vignette where MVP's knocking on doors going, all right, vote.
I need not MVP.
Time. I need more time, Shelton.
Not says. MVP, Max.
Shelton goes, I need more time and one more woman. Oh, okay. Yeah. Go ahead, kid.
Max shows up at the hotel. He's like, I've only got the women till midnight.
Yes, they're on the clock.
Okay. And then Shelton's like, I need more time. He's like, how much for an extra hour? You know what? If we're not going to get vignettes,
taking a vote mid-coitus would
if we're not getting vignettes of the baby faces spending their $300,000 or $400,000, I'm not sure we're getting this. So,
where's my Kevin Knight with his plate of wings from Magic City? That's where we have the next vote, by the way.
How do I know it's legal in Nevada? Everybody knows it's legal in Nevada.
Only in certain counties.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Trust me, I've never partaken. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Actually,
Not
there
in
kinda is
Vegas,
something
by
wrong
the
with
way.
that.
You have to go outside of Vegas for it to be legal.
Oh, okay. I'll tell you a funny story.
I've looked it up. I don't care.
I'll tell you a funny story.
Okay.
We're when we went to Laughlin, Nevada, last couple months ago. Remember me telling the story? We get off the plane, and there's these guys at the airport, and they're handing out these flyers, and it's basically you can get a trip to Vegas, to the Grand Canyon, to all these different sites, and and they call for rates. So okay, so I grabbed this thing because I was thinking about going to Vegas while I was there, and so my wife's looking at this thing, and she's like, "The Chicken Ranch." It's like, why would anybody want to go to a chicken ranch? Like, you don't know what the Chicken Ranch is? And she's like, I assume it's a ranch with chickens. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know. So I said to her, I said, we should go there. And she's like, I guess.
Paul, you'd be divorced
No.
if you had made
She's
it
like,
there.
I guess. And then I Googled Chicken Ranch and I showed it to her and she laughed and it was funny. She had no idea what the Chicken Ranch was. But yeah.
Knock, knock, knock. Bobby, you almost finished. We need to
Yeah.
take a vote.
I think we need to vote. All right, next up, back to the bangers. Will Ospreay and
No.
Takeshita in an back to the bangers. Yeah, different kind of banger. Will Ospreay and Konosuke Takeshita Owen Hart Foundation Tournament semifinal. So yeah, they showed highlights of their first two matches. Of course, they had the one match right after Will Ospreay signed, and then they made it look like it was a singles match. It was actually a three-way where Konosuke Takeshita won the international title from Will in a three-way. And and this was a great match. Just they started, it was kind of funny actually. They started kind of slow, and then they eventually like kind of picked it up. What? You made a gesture.
Oh,
Or you're talking about the chat. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
So I thought you were reacting to what I said. No, so they paced it really well. And then by the end, they were just like, like false finisher, awesome athleticism, like just bang, 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 boom, 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 bang. Very different match than the opener because of the pacing of it. And then they really saved it all for the end. And like they just it just went nuts. Like I can't describe everything that they did, but eventually Takeshita hit his raging fire, or trying to hit his raging fire. Ospreay countered into a Styles Clash. Takeshita kicked out. Then he hit a power drive knee, and then Ospreay floated through into a Stormbreaker, got the win, and just awesome. Like I'm not going to go through everything. I mean, I'm sure most of you've seen it. If you haven't, go watch it. It was a it's a match of the year contender for sure. One of the best matches in Dynamite history. I won't say the best, but again, if you want to say it's the best, I mean that's fine. Like I would disagree with you, but I'm not going to fight you or anything. Great match. Will Ospreay wins. He advances in the tournament, so it's going to be him against the Kyle Fletcher Hangman Page winner. Either one of those matches is going to be great. They've been teasing Ospreay and Hangman the whole way since before the tournament was even announced. So I think that's what the final is going to be. But if it's another Ospreay Fletcher match, that'll be great too. You can't go wrong.
I liked the match. I just there's a part of me that just wants Takeshita to watch some old 80s territory wrestling and learn how to work a body part when he's the heel and he's going to do these long matches just to get some heat, because it's one of those
Actually, that's one thing Fletcher's gotten really good at.
Yeah,
actually,
it's one of those things where I'm just like I'm waiting for Takeshita's part of the story, and while he's doing the moves well and stuff like that, it's just the moves, and it leaves me a little empty. I'm not saying it was a bad match in any way. It was a banger. I thought it started to drag a little bit with the false finishes, but that's me and my personal predilections because there wasn't a increase in. Takeshita wasn't trying to hurt Will Ospreay at any point.
Sounds to me like you like the women's match better.
I did.
Yeah,
but I'm also far more biased towards Mercedes.
Sure,
either person in this match.
I had them within a quarter star of each other. So I mean, if I watch them both again, I might like the Mercedes match better.
I wanted, you know what I really would have liked here, because they've been playing up that story of Takeshita possibly getting in the match with Fletcher in the finals. Having Takeshita realize that he is overmatched a little bit against Will Ospreay, so he decides for his stablemate that he's going to try and take Will Ospreay out. I think that would have worked for me just a little bit more within the bounds of commentary and everything else, because I'm still I am not a pure Japanese banger work rate strong style guy, so I just kind of wanted that. But if you think it's the greatest match in AEW history, I'm not going to argue over it necessarily.
Well, I'll argue with it, but
I'm talking to Fernando. I'm
okay. Yeah,
I'm not going to argue with you. Yeah,
no,
you have more matches at your disposal.
I would just tell Fernando to go back and watch Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson. Get back.
Look, the greatest match in Dynamite history is FTR and Tully Blanchard versus the Jurassic Express.
That was fun. That was a fun match. You know what's funny? When we watched this show, and I'll plug it, we did a special show, if you haven't heard it or seen it, on the weekend, where we recap the Fight for the Fall in 2021.
Yes.
When I finished watching that, I'm like, Dynamite's not going to be better than this show this week. And I thought it was. So, but that was a great show too. So, maybe if you haven't, go back and watch that show.
I enjoyed this show a lot more than that show.
Oh, me too. Me too. That's what I'm saying. But I didn't think I would. When I finished watching Sunday, because that show was great. So good on AEW. I actually came to a realization about halfway through the show that I think that Tony Khan, when he figured out that this was a show that was going to pass Nitro, he had this card in his head and he booked everything to get to this card. Like the Owen, everything. It's maybe 2 months ago, whenever it was that he figured it out. And that's part of the reason why the show was so great, because he's had this
still annoyed us with a run over.
Yeah, well, that's Tony, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. Whatever. It was a good show.
I am not as emotionally involved as others, although I will not deny people their hatred of Eric Bischoff. It's one of those weird things where it's like a lot of people just want to stick it to Eric Bischoff over this. And I'm like, I get that because he criticizes AEW, but it's just one of those things where I'm just like, I can't feed on that negativity anymore because I didn't like Nitro all that much, to be honest with you.
No, me neither. There were aspects of it I liked, but
first hour of Nitro I could watch, and then I was kind of done.
Yeah, when it first started, I liked it a lot, and then during the NWO time, I kind of, when it first started, I liked that, and then but most of the other time, it was my second choice.
Again, it was bangers, and I could watch the cruiserweights for a while until they just got fed, and you realize they weren't building. I mean, they weren't doing a lot of promo work and stuff like that. Right. So that's not my jam. I like the promo stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And then when Hogan and his crew showed up, then it got rid of the Southern wrestling that you probably liked.
So, yeah, true.
Yeah. All right. One thing I didn't mention, and it was at the start of the show. They when they were running down the card and everything, they pointed out that Jon Moxley was going to be stepping in for Pac, who had gotten hurt last week, to defend the trios titles. And then they also announced that Hook was unavailable. Now, did they say he got taken out by the Death Riders?
Yes. They said before the show he had gotten taken out. That's why Taz also wasn't there.
It's the second week in a row that they've taken off somebody in a phantom attack, or second time in 3 weeks, because they did it to Jay White a couple weeks ago too. They took out Hook, and then they basically kind of insinuated that Shibata and Joe were going to challenge for the titles themselves. They never said there was going to be a mystery partner, but they just kind of said that they were going to figure it out.
Well, you skip intros, and during the intros they said they'll take them on 2-on-3 if they have to.
Okay, there you go. So they do the intros,
but they did not explain the Bullet Club Gold stripping of the titles and firm that up with why Moxley now gets to replace.
And this was easy.
Somebody.
I mean, all they had to do was strip the Death Riders and then make this for the vacant titles. I mean, that's what they did last time.
Or I liked Sean Ross Sapp's idea of just say the Young Bucks just decide, hey, we're executive vice presidents. This is what we think should happen.
Who are they helping?
They're helping Mox.
Oh, right. Yeah. So Mox steps in, and then so Shibata and Joe get Hobbs, which makes sense. Like Hobbs has had issues with the Death Riders the whole time, and honestly, it's a better team. If Hook decides to be gone for a while, then that's Hobbs is perfectly fine for the Opps, in my opinion. Probably a better fit than.
Is this setting up a Hook heel turn with Taz possibly?
I don't know, but Taz, I didn't mention this either. Taz was off commentary for the night because he went to the hospital with Hook.
Yes.
In storyline. In non-storyline, apparently what happened, and I didn't know this last week. I heard about it after the fact, but apparently Hook was like throwing up after the match or something, and people originally thought he had a concussion, but then it turned out he might have just been sick or nerves or something. And so he was not doing very well after the match. So that probably has something to do with why he wasn't in this match, is my guess. I'm sure we'll hear more. It was they had just they had a really good match. All three of these guys are talented. Marina was at ringside with the Death Riders, obviously. So at one point Willow comes down to kind of even up those sides, and then the Bucks show up, and then the Bucks get taken out by Swerve, who obviously he had said he's going to get his hands on the Bucks last week, so he showed up and he helped that out. In the meantime, they're just doing their match. They get back in the ring, and Moxley's in there with Joe. Castagnoli and Shibata are brawling on the ramp. Shibata puts on a rear naked choke, takes out Claudio, and then they get back in the ring. Moxley went for the Death Rider on Joe, and he spun out of it, put on the Kakina clutch, and Mox passed out like instantly. Like it's kind of, I guess they were like 10 minutes over, so they probably decided. Yes. So it was exactly what I said last week. To me it was like basic booking, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally like the only person that I heard that came up with this finish. Like, I don't know how like a million people didn't think of it, because it just seemed so obvious to me. Probably because Moxley never does jobs, but
I think they were doubting a title change too,
or that Mox would be able to defend the belts,
right?
Yeah, and they didn't announce Mox defending the belts until Saturday. Joe taps out Mox. They win the trios titles, and now we'll probably get a world title shot off of it. And then so we'll probably get like a blood and guts match with, like, I don't know, the Bucks and the other Death Riders against Swerve, Hangman, and the Opps. Maybe Swerve, Hangman, Shibata, Hobbs, and maybe Hook's back by that point. Probably. Like,
no,
or
I
it could
think
just be
Ospreay's. I think Ospreay's going to be part of it.
Well, yeah, Ospreay was the first guy. No, because Ospreay is going to be in the world title match, or the Owen fight.
Well, no, I just meant in Blood and Guts.
Oh yeah, Blood and Guts is different. Yeah, like, who knows? Well, I've heard that it may actually be Blood and Guts at Double or Nothing instead of Anarchy in the Arena. Like, rather than do two matches, which are basically the same thing, like they've done in the past, they may just do Blood and Guts at
I think that was the problem for me when we went to go to Double or Nothing in Vegas, is that it was basically the same match as the Blood and Guts match, and it didn't really solve anything. Maybe they figured that out. I don't know.
Yeah, and then they can just do it, just do Blood and Guts at Double or Nothing, and then you don't have to worry about Anarchy in the Arena, and then you don't have to do another Blood and Guts like a month later.
Right.
Although I think WBD probably likes them having that Blood and Guts, every year, because it does a good rating. But so we'll see. There's a lot of different ways they can go. But so they had the big celebration that you mentioned. Will Ospreay was the first one out there. At first I thought he was wearing like a goofy hat, but then like it turns out he was like it was the ice pack.
No, I was the same way too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like, and then eventually, but the crew they had out there, it was kind of funny because, like, they said the locker room emptied, and it was like, so you had Evil Uno, who, like, I don't know, the last time he was on Dynamite might have been that match we watched on Saturday. And Alex Reynolds was out there.
Alex Reynolds.
There was a black guy who I thought
Kevin Knight.
I saw Kevin Knight, but there's another one, and I thought it was Max Caster at first, but it was like, no, these are all babyface. It can't be Max Caster, and it wasn't Anthony Bowens. I don't know who it was. He was like shorter. yeah, and then there was try to look. here.
Tomohiro Ishii.
Yeah,
was in the
she
rear.
was there. Mike Bailey was there. Oh, you know who it was? It was AR Fox.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was it. Like, it's like I don't know where everybody else was. They got like 800 people under contract.
Well, it's a mid card title. You don't want to bring out the heavy hitters necessarily.
Well, you had Will Ospreay and Swerve.
Well, we'll have Ospreay. Well, Swerve helped them win.
That's true. And they had a champagne party. They were like just letting the champagne go. And you know what the funny thing is my first thought when Ospreay came out and the crowd's going nuts and everything. It didn't even like at first I didn't even think about the titles. I just thought they were celebrating the fact that they beat Nitro. And that's why like Ospreay was like the first one out. And then it was like, oh no, okay, this is like the Lex Luger, like when he beat Hogan. Somebody mentioned it in the chat earlier. It was like that, or when Hogan beat Iron Sheik and they did the backstage celebration and dumping champagne and everything. So it was so like, again, it was like right out of like 1985, but
yes,
that's not a diss. It was
awesome. It's not. It's what Jeff likes. Jeff likes those stupid things.
You know who wasn't out there? The Hurt Business, because they're heels. And
they had women to get to, and votes that they had to get finished so they could do votes in the middle of the hotel.
Yeah. But yeah, it was charming and it was fun, and Joe celebrated and the fans were chanting for Joe. And I mean, we got to have a Joe Mox title match now, whether it's on TV or at Double or Nothing. Like that's a given.
The presentation of the belt to Hobbs was a nice touch too.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I don't know what this means, like in terms of like when Hook comes back, does he get the belt or probably not? So maybe he's jealous.
That could be an angle. That could be something to do because God knows they've done jack squat with Hook.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean he's in a good crew and everything here and there.
It could be that Hobbs relinquishes it to Hook because it's like, hey, these aren't my guys, they're your guys, type of a thing.
There
have been angles about this before. Like the Freebirds did this once in an angle where it was like two of them, it was with the Von Erich. It was David Von Erich, right? With two of the Freebirds, and then he relinquished the belt because he's not really a Freebird, and then the Freebirds took that personally and said, "What do you mean? You won them with us?" kind of a thing. You could always do that.
Yeah, you could do that. Or it could be that Hook is jealous that Hobbs didn't do that.
And it could be like a lingering type of resentment where it builds over time.
And then we get Hook.
I don't think Hook's talented enough to do that, but
it's kind of funny that this happened because in that show we just watched, Hook and Hobbs were stablemates.
Yep.
Yeah. And now they kind of are again. So
and maybe you could involve Taz in a couple of these where Hook's talking to his dad about loyalty and stuff like that. It's like, well, you got turned on a couple of times, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, this was a great show. I really liked it a lot. And they brought up Collision for tomorrow. So all they've announced so far is Commander and Nick Wayne for the ROH TV title. Mercedes Moné and Harley Cameron against Julia Hart and Chris Statlander with Timeless Tony on commentary. So get ready for some tit jokes.
I'm just thinking of Harley. Feel the wrath.
And an Adam Cole TNT Open title challenge that will no doubt be accepted by Josh Alexander.
Alexander, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Possibly with Don Callis.
Yeah. That sounds like a Rampage 1 hour show, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully they get a good audience for that because there's like no competition tomorrow. I don't think there's like the NHL still has regular season games tomorrow. But no NBA. And baseball probably, but nobody watches baseball. I didn't even think about this. Brad said they stuck the landing. Yes, I did think about that. But Shibata, champion for a nationally televised company. That is pretty cool. Because he had the ROH title.
Pure champion. Yeah, okay.
He was, but they weren't televised at the time. So.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. Well, I mean, Honor Club, but that's not televised. So good show. I feel great. It's a good time to be an AEW fan, especially Nick Khan's comments, the underdog WWE, and how much he respects the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Did you see
It's
that?
their week. Look, man, it's their
Yeah.
it's their week, and they're gonna just tweak the other guys.
Yeah. But Tony's not taking the bait, so good for him. Good for
Not
him.
yet.
Ricochets.
Ricochet has
Yeah.
absolutely gotten to.
Yeah, but that's also his gimmick, so that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, that was good. And just a reminder to everyone, we didn't get any super chats tonight. That's fine. We're at 20, so when we get to 25, we'll do another special show. And since DJ Cass, yeah, is the one that donated most of it, we'll give him the option of choosing. But if he doesn't want to, then whoever puts us over the top can do it. So other than I'll plug the show that we did on the weekend. If you haven't already heard it, you can go back and listen to it or watch it. It's on the Fight Game Media audio free feed. It's also on our YouTube channel. And Jeff, I know you got a big weekend coming up.
I do. I am at Crap Game 13 on X. I am doing both the post shows on Saturday and Sunday over on Fightful with our friend Sean Ross Sapp for WrestleMania. It's gonna be a long weekend of wrestling. Yeah, and Shake Them Ropes came out with our Mania preview today. Both myself and Nove recorded an episode this afternoon with all our predictions for Stand and Deliver night 1 and night 2, including who we think Randy Orton may face. And we also picked underrated WrestleMania matches for Vader Club. He chose AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon from WrestleMania 33. We forget how great AJ Styles is in WWE. And I picked Steiners versus the Head Shrinkers from WrestleMania 9, the much maligned WrestleMania 9, and well-deserved because there was a lot that was terrible about it. But that match still slaps. And that's on all your podcatchers and also the Voices of Wrestling super feed.
Whenever I'm asked about that one, I always pick Hercules and Billy Jack Haynes from WrestleMania 3.
Oh,
I love that one.
Okay.
But I'll plug one more thing, and it's not involving me. Speaking of WrestleMania, on this site after night 2, we're gonna have a Power Bombshells rap collaboration with Keela Cash and Mel. Are going to recap WrestleMania. And the funny thing about this is Mel hates WWE and never watches it, but she's going to watch it and recap it with Keela Cash. So that could be fun. So I know we got some people in the chat here that are Power Bombshells fans. So these two lovely ladies are going to bless us with their voices and opinions on Sunday night. So check that
and then
out.
Listen to mine afterwards after dropping the Fightful feed.
And now for something completely different, Sean and Jeff. All right. So for Jeff Hawkins, I've been Paul Fontaine, and this has been the Dynamite Show.
Hurry up and finish.